will not be boots on the ground. We will not. The president was emphatic, saying that we will not be putting thousands of troops into Iraq to refight the war. Joining us right now from the U.S. House of Representatives, it's a pleasure to welcome back to the show the representative for the 44th District, Congresswoman Janice Hahn. Good morning, Congresswoman Hahn.
Good morning, Doug. It's nice to be on your show again.
Thank you for coming on with us. I wanted to get you to weigh in because I remember when we did our town hall on Syria, you were very emphatic that you didn't want to see any U.S. troops interdicted into Syria, what was a Syrian civil war. And I think the nation agreed with you overwhelmingly. And ultimately the president did because we didn't interdict troops. Now we have a situation where we kind of do have, not kind of, in my opinion, we do have a moral, obligation to Iraq considering we went in there and messed everything up. But the cost of that Iraq war in blood and treasure has been enormous. And at some point, we have to deal with the fact that this is a sectarian, there's an element of a sectarian civil war going on here that we have no hope of resolving.
Well, I agree with you, and it was, I think I was one of those that thought it was a misguided war 11 years ago. I thought we were really lied and deceived into going to that war. We've lost 4,500 men and women. We've got 30,000 Americans that have come home who, are emotionally, physically scarred. So, it does seem to be a mess over there, but I have the same feeling I did about Syria, and I speak also from constituents at home. They're not interested in us getting back involved in Iraq. We got out of there. The president ended our presence there. I came to Congress to end the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, so I'm not interested in us going back. It is, ISIS sort of came into being because of our 2003 invasion there. It's up to Maliki to lead his state. I think he should have more of a shared power government with the Sunnis and Shiites, and until that happens, there's going to be this civil war, and I don't think we have an obligation to go back in there and try to straighten things out. One
of the things that surprises me is that we've allowed Maliki to run the government for just one ethnic bloc. Obviously, the Iraqi people, quote unquote, elected him. And we don't want to be running the country at the granular level, but we obviously have a great deal of say in Iraq since we pretty much made it what it is today, good and ill. And the fact that we allowed him to have a government that excluded 2/3 of the population seems to me to be a tremendous blunder. And now we're trying to force him to be more egalitarian, but, the horse is kind of out of the barn.
I agree with you. Yeah, that was our whole position in there, was trying to support him and his government. And you're right. We should have made sure there was shared power, because as soon as we left, this is what happened. And by the way, he didn't want us there anymore, if you recall. He wanted us to leave. I'm kind of uncomfortable with the United States feeling that we do have some moral authority to go into these other countries and use military power to solve problems. I was part of the D-Day celebration a couple weeks ago in Normandy, and it was impressed again after World War II. We were going to set up the United Nations, and from this day forward, we were supposed to really look at solving conflicts internationally through diplomacy. So I don't know where we have gotten this idea that we have this moral authority to go in and attack countries that didn't attack us. And I'm uncomfortable with that. And again, Doug, our country needs so much investment. We got roads, we got bridges, we got schools that are crumbling. And I think the American people are really wanting us to turn our attention to this country and see what we can do to improve particularly our infrastructure.
We're talking with Congresswoman Janice Hahn. Her website, hahn.house.gov. I don't disagree with you. I think that is where the American public is at. But let me ask you this, and this is where it does become a moral challenge. When we did go into Iraq, and we all know, how we got in and why we got in and all that stuff. We'll debate that forever. But we went in, and there are millions of Iraqis who literally put their thumbs into blue ink and stood with the promise of a better Iraq based on our word. And if it collapses into a horrific, radicalized Islamic, fascistic, whatever kind of negative word you want to put on it, place, there could be terrible humanitarian consequences for the people who trusted us.
I hear you say that, but we spent 9 years there. Again, we also invested our men and women, losing 4,500, 30,000 have come home, again, messed up in more than just physical ways. And that was our job over there. We were training the Iraqi soldiers. We were advising the military. We helped set up this government. We spent 9 years trying to do it, and the moment we leave, it seemed to collapse. I don't know what that says, but are we there for the rest of our lives? Again, is that our obligation forever to make sure that all governments in the world, are running a democracy like we envision? I don't know. I'm not feeling that here, and I think it's up to Maliki to solve this problem himself.
If 6 months from now the president comes back and says we have to send more troops or start airstrikes, would you support that?
No, I would not. And I would not. And I don't have a price on what airstrikes would be here in Iraq, but I do know that the Libya airstrikes cost us $1 billion. People, again, I think Americans are feeling like our foreign aid is, people are questioning. I have constituents all the time that question the foreign aid we give regularly every year to different countries. They're not going to be in favor of spending $1 billion when we're still under sequestration, when we're still cutting services, when the Coast Guard that's supposed to be protecting our country doesn't have the funds that they need to properly execute their mission. I don't think anybody's going to be favored, and I, Doug, would vote against it.
Congresswoman Hahn, thanks so much for coming on. We always appreciate it. Hahn.house.gov, Congresswoman Janice Hahn from the 44th District. Let's go check traffic. Here's Bill Thomas.
North I-5 starting your drive right now coming up from Beach Boulevard in